Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ruth Ann Vines, and today's video is going to be about a book called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. We'll leave it in the description. We'll also leave the name of the book in the description. So this book is so good. It is a practical guide to personal freedom, as it says at the top. I took lots of notes, and I'm just going to give you a rundown of this book and some key points that I took away that I thought would be really great to share with other people who do not or have not read this book. But let's get started. Okay, so the four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And we're going to start with the first agreement: to be impeccable with your word. So this agreement is basically saying to always choose your words carefully and kindly. I feel like a lot of people don't do this. We get very sidetracked with our day-to-day life. We get upset about things and we push our inner suffering onto other people when they don't deserve it. And a lot of the times people don't see that you're suffering, so you're pushing it onto them. So they take things personally and then they push that onto other people, and it causes more inner suffering. So it's just a big circle, when in reality we should be being very kind to people and using our words correctly. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism, but there is something wrong with hurting other people just because you're upset. You know, there's a big difference between those two. It's not saying to not tell somebody when they're doing wrong to you, but to just don't be rude to people for no reason, you know, just to think about the things that you're saying, and is this something that you're dealing with, or is this something you really feel like you need to share with another person? And okay, I almost got into the second agreement because I was like, don't take things personally when other people are giving you their suffering. But all four of these agreements intertwine with each other, which is good. But I took some notes, so I'm going to share some of the notes that I took. Everything is kind of jumbled and all over the place. Like, I started my notes over here and then ended up on this page because I didn't know how much I would be taking. And there was actually another book called The Fifth Agreement, which I read two or 3 years ago, and I checked it out from the library. But I found this one for like $1 at a bookstore and got it, and I was so excited because I had already read the other one, and this one, now that I have it, I can like keep notes in it, go back and reread things, you know, so that I can make habit of these agreements, because I feel like they are so wonderful if you want peace around you, if you have some things going on in your life that are out of your control, so that you can feel peaceful and calm in the storm, you know. So some of the notes that I took, let me go through. Okay, so the first notes I started were the prologue, I believe, where he talked a little bit before actually starting the book. And I really loved some of the things he was saying. I wish I could just like read the whole book to you, but I feel like it would be so much better if you check this book out from the library, order it online, whatever you gotta do, get access to this book, because it's so good if you really want to use it to change your life. One of the things that I read that really stuck out to me was, it is not the stars that create light, but rather the light that creates stars. Like, I just thought it was so beautiful, because the light, like everything here, look, let me go back to it. I remember having all these thoughts when I took that note, and now they're all gone now that I'm in front of a camera. He looked at his hands and felt his body, and he heard his own voice say, "I am made of light, and I am made of stars." He looked at the stars again, and he realized that it is not the stars that create light, but rather the light that creates stars. Everything is made of light, he said, and the space in between isn't empty. And he knew that everything exists is one living being, and that the light is the messenger of life because it is alive and contains all information. Then he realized that although he was made of stars, he was not those stars. He's in between. So you have to read it to like understand, because there's so much more context, but it was just like the realization that we are all like the same and we are all one, you know, but then we're also not at the same time. Everything we do is like our own truth, but everybody else has their own truth, their own environment too. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So let's go to the first agreement. I did go off a little bit more on that. I talked about how it's important to reread and keep the agreements somewhere near you, to constantly be thinking about them, because if you're not, you will forget the agreements you made with yourself and go back to living in your own personal hell. Be impeccable with your word. The word is the most powerful tool you have as a human. But like a sword with two edges, your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. This is saying that there is two sides. You can either be really great with your word and use it to make everything around you super great and comfortable and calm and peaceful, or you can use it to make hell around you, to make everybody around you, to make yourself uncomfortable. You see, when a lot of people are suffering with their own things, that they push a lot of their own personal emotions and like things that they're going through onto other people. I think we are all guilty of doing this, you know, because we all go through stuff, and sometimes we don't have a way to let it out, and we just let it out on all the people around us. And this makes people uncomfortable, and it makes them not want to be around you, and it just makes your world uncomfortable. But it's saying that if you have a different point of view, you can change this. You know, you can make things better for yourself. Even though you have all these struggles, you can look at them in a better light. I thought this was really great. It like helps you think before you speak. It's also really important when you're talking to inanimate objects, your pets, yourself, to be kind to yourself, to be kind to the things around you, because it becomes a habit. And, you know, your mind doesn't resort to those horrible thoughts all the time, you know? It just makes you better to the people around you. It makes you more fun to be around. It makes you light up, you know? So yeah, that's the first agreement. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. I feel like this one is extremely important because everybody takes everything personally. People forget that other people have their own truths and opinions, and when they get pushed onto other people, they get really upset and they're like, why would you say something like that about me? But in reality, they're pushing their own ideas and opinions that they were taught from a young age that they never changed, you know? And I just feel like this is really important for me because I take a lot of things personally, and I try not to anymore. I've been trying not to for years, but this definitely just reinforces that and helps me focus on things that I need to work on to become a better person and to change and feel happier. But it had some great examples in here. Like there was one and it was like, so let me go to it. Okay, so the really great thing that it talked about in this chapter was, if you have your own thought, okay, say I thought to myself, I am a terrible singer, right? And I had this thought and I never sang, and then one day I sang and someone said, you are a terrible singer. That reinforces a belief that I already have, so it makes me believe it even more, even though that may not be so, you know? It's just, if you already have an idea or an opinion and it gets reinforced by another person, you know, it makes it worse. You shouldn't take something somebody else says personally just because it's a belief you already have. That doesn't make it true, you know? So yeah, nothing is definite, and things can change and people can get better. There's, you know, and that person may have been pushing their illness on you, you know? I feel like that one wasn't a great example. They had a really great one in here. It's just, other people can reinforce ideas you already have about yourself. Let's say that you're a really good artist and you know that you're a good artist and like you're very confident in that, and then somebody says you're not a good artist. Well, you already know that you're a good artist, so when they say that, they're not reinforcing a belief you already have. You know you're good at it, so you don't even take that thought in and you're like, I'm not a bad artist. That's just your opinion. But when you already have a false belief about yourself and someone says it, it makes it worse, you know? So don't take things that people say personally. Believe your own beliefs. And if your beliefs suck, change them, you know? Don't go throughout your whole life saying, or like holding yourself back because of a belief that you have because one person said something, you know? And I don't know, did I take notes on this one? Another great thing that I read is, if people say hurtful things to you, it is worse hurting them because you, of course, will dislike this person that hurts you. So if someone says something ill to you, you end up not liking that person rather than feeling like you're super in the wrong, you know? They're hurting themselves more because they're not a fun person to be around anymore when they're pushing that onto other people. I felt like that was a really great point. I do hope that this is not super jumbled up and confusing. It's just a lot of things that I took away from this book that I really wanted to share. So, back onto the second agreement. Let's see if I took any notes on it. I did add, because I've had my own experiences with people who disrespect and put you down a lot, and I said, I agree with most of these points. As a general idea, it is to be respectful and kind, but as humans are extremely complex, don't expect the same in return, nor allow yourself to continue using kindness on those who disrespect you. So it's really important that you don't just keep getting walked on by a person and keep being kind and keep going out of your way to do things for this person, expecting them to eventually change and, you know, be kind and go out of their way to do things for you. It's important to be kind to people because you want to be kind, not because you expect them to change and be better to you, you know? And if a person is constantly walking on and hurting you, the best thing you can do is to separate yourself from that person. And it may hurt at first, but eventually things will get better and happier for you in the end. So these are the notes that I took on the don't take anything personally. If others say one thing but do another, you are lying to yourself if you do not listen to their actions. Being honest with yourself, you can save yourself a lot of emotional pain. I feel like a lot of people do this because I feel like a lot of people do this with their loved ones and their friends, their family. A lot of the times we look at someone will do something bad and, you know, they'll be like, they'll be like, oh, I didn't do this, or oh, I didn't mean to do this, and you let it pass, and then they keep doing it, and keep doing it, and keep doing it, and you just are in denial and not believing that, you know, maybe they're not a good person for you to be around. You just keep lying to yourself over and over and being like, well, no, they said, when in reality, they need to be away from you. You need to be away from them. They need to go do their thing without you being involved, and you need to be separated from them because all you're doing is causing yourself more and more emotional pain by being betrayed by this person over and over, even though they said, you know, it doesn't really matter what they say, it's what they do. And if they're not changing their actions, they're not changing. So I feel like that was extremely important because a lot of people are around, you know, they have family members that are getting into trouble and doing these things, and they're like, oh, but that's not me, or oh, it's because of this, and oh, it's because of that. Well, I don't want to surround myself with you anymore. You're not good for me, and you would be better off without that. You're just putting yourself more and more through your own personal hell with them being involved, you know. So the third agreement is don't make assumptions. The problem with assumptions is we believe they are true. We take things personal, then blame and react by our truth, forgetting they are just ideas and opinions. Ask questions and make less assumptions. So a good example of this would be when you're younger and someone says something to you like, just a general statement, bad people wear bracelets. So every single time you see somebody with a bracelet, you think, oh, they're a bad person because that's what you were told. You're making the assumption that every person that you see with a bracelet on is a bad person because you were told it and you grew up knowing that. So instead of asking questions, every single time you see someone with a bracelet, you turn to a family member or a friend and you're like, oh, they're a bad person. When in reality, you're just assuming things because of the beliefs that you were brought up with. I know that's probably a horrible example, but I cannot think of anything any better. I feel like everybody makes assumptions every single day about people. You know, when you're going to the store or you're going to the gas station and you see random people walking around, we automatically watch people and see what they're doing and have our own ideas and opinions that we see and we, put on them unknowingly. Sometimes people go so far as to tell people these assumptions, why are you doing that? They think that they have their beliefs are true, so they push these ideas onto other people, and that person, you know, doesn't deserve that. They don't, you know, they don't deserve your ideas and opinions. They have their own, you know. It's just a very weird thing, especially when people share their assumptions rather than start asking questions, you know. Like, why are you doing this? You know, I'm just curious because I grew up with this belief and I would like to know, why do you do this? You know, what is your belief? A lot of people don't break out of the things they were told growing up, you know, they don't ever question it, they just go with it, and then they push it onto other people, not even realizing that maybe they don't even believe what they're saying. That one seems a little bit more complicated, it's more difficult for me to explain, but the best thing is to just not judge other people, you know, and that can be so difficult. Just if you see something that is clearly wrong, you know, it's okay to stand up for somebody, but just because it's your opinion that it's wrong, it doesn't always make it so, you know. Okay, so the last agreement ties all three of these together, and that is to always do your best. And your best is going to be different every day, as it says in the book. It says you wake up in the morning and you have a lot of energy, so it's easier for you to not make assumptions and to be impeccable with your word, but later in the day, you know, after a work shift, or, you know, you're depleted of all your energy at the end of the day, being impeccable with your word might be a little bit more difficult. But it's just important to always do the best that you can. And, you know, if you're not doing your best, you're gonna end up feeling guilty for not trying your best, or if you go above and beyond, you're going to deplete yourself even more of energy. So it's best to just do your best. Don't go overboard with it, don't go underboard with it, just do your best, you know. What you can give. I feel like that one's really important because a lot of the times we always expect ourselves to not change and to always be the same and, you know, keep that same level, you know, every time we go. But it's okay to mess up, it's okay to, you know, not be perfect. Just do your best, you know? And then let's read some notes that I took. We are always changing, so your best may always be different. Building a habit of these agreements will make your best better. Yeah, so keeping a habit of doing these things every day, it'll get easier and easier to do your best. So this was just a little point of view of mine from all four of these agreements. I really love this book. I highly recommend it. I'm definitely going to go back and reading over things again. This book only took one day to read. It's a very short book. It's only 130 pages. So, I mean, you can read it in a day and take notes, or you can just do little bits here and there and take notes to help yourself personally grow. I highly recommend this book if you need peace in your life. It teaches you how to make your own peace in a buzzing world. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'd love to know your opinions about these agreements in the comments and if you've read this book before. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.